Hey there, folks. So last episode we went through and got a ambient temperature system set up in our chrono manager. Really should be called environment manager at this point, but that's an afterthought. But you can see we've got how often we're updating our temperature, what the current world temperature is. We also added time of day and temperature to our UI just so we have that there for testing. Ultimately, I'll say this: none of this UI that's here right now is what I intend to have, because in the real world, you don't have a little bar in the corner of your vision that says how much health, how thirsty, how hungry. You have to judge that based on how your body feels. Well, you can't do that in a game, but short of it, this base UI is going to be completely redone. But anyways, so what I had mentioned last episode is I was going to actually start working on a blueprint function library, because there's certain things like I tried adding in this convert to Celsius function. Well, it's not actually exposed to blueprints because it's not part of a class. And you guys can't see me doing air quotes when I say class, but here I am doing it anyways. So what we're going to do is this episode we're going to create a utility function library. To do that, go into our C++ portion, your project, public, right click new class. Now in here, I believe it's at the very bottom. I might be wrong. Not quite at the very bottom. So just near the bottom, blueprint function library. This is a base class for any function libraries exposed to blueprints. I'm going to click next. Function library. So I'm going to add that to a function libraries folder. And this is going to be TF utility functions. And this is basically, it's any utility function you want to add. So we're going to create that class. I'm still running in the editor from Visual Studio, so we're going to give this a moment here and wait for it to prompt with the reload. But with that, though, you can see it now has populated. It's a class, full API, UTF utility functions, and it extends the blueprint function library. So we can preface this, though, with a couple of things. I'm going to go private, protected, public. It's because I like to have my code in that order. U function, blueprint, callable, float, convert, and I'm actually going to spell this properly. Fahrenheit. I can never spell Fahrenheit because it's got that weird spelling. To Celsius. Const float reference temp. Now there's a couple other utility functions I want to add while we're in here. Void add log message. F string, sorry, const F string reference message. And this is where we're going to need to include our data type header for our... No, I left that in the logger, didn't I? Yes, I did. So we just need our logger header. All right, so because we're going to be doing a complete rebuild, I'm not worried about this. I'm going to just stop debugging. Oh, actually, I want to make sure everything is saved. Go back in there, reload all. Yes, I want to stop debugging. Save that. So, well, we need to expose this enum to the editor. So, you enum blueprint type. We're going to have errors here, though. Guarantee it, because we need to include core minimal. So I'm going to throw that in there. It's also not the correct enum type for Unreal as the engine. So it's enum class. My brain is not working. Data type, ecore, yeah, enum class. Enum class, and it's derived from a uint 8. So we also want to add in our metadata now for that, which is this. Debug. Actually, I'm going to grab it from there so it includes the space. Debug. Warning. Error. Critical. And the reason I'm doing this is I realized I want to be able to access my logging function from outside, well, from blueprints. So I'm going to grab my logger CPP just so I can quickly grab this, go to our utility functions header, and above my dot generated, I want to include the logger. And this is error level. Again, these are going to be const because we're not changing them level. So now we've got that. I'm going to click this IntelliSense and create the definition. And over here, create IntelliSense and add definition. So we already know that's the logic we need. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to set that as a return value. Now, add log message. Well, this one's going to be easy. It's going to be logger get instance add message. Now, well, we've got an F string to a stud string. I can tell you this isn't going to work. Message level. Quite simply because F string isn't a stud string, standard string. So we'll go message dot to string. Well, there isn't one. So I actually, off the top of my head, cannot remember what this is called. So UE5 C++ F string to stud string. Apparently, I've looked at that at some point in the last year. Well, there you go. So, problem with the second example is like, try giving a pointer to the F string. Like, let's see if that is going to fix our issue. And we don't want that to be test. We want that to be message. And we don't need that there. Okay, so we have created two functions in our blueprint library. One thing you can do is, with functions, you can add a category. Logging. A category. Temperature. So I'm going to do that. We're going to do a quick build here. And while this builds, it's going to take a while because we've modified the logging. And I think, yep, yeah, we got errors there. That's what I was expecting. So we need to go into our logger source file. And that is because, not logger, our logger header, because I did it all in header code. what is it complaining about? Okay, so this is where air level you need to have that, because though C++ doesn't require the enum type preface, Unreal Engine does. That's also, I didn't do this intentionally. It slipped my mind. But also, as I mentioned, it's good to have this in no matter what, because you know very clearly this is the enum we're working with. So I'm just going to go through and add these, get those two fixed. And there's actually quite a few of these I've messed up. That's because I was copy and pasting code. Okay. Oh, there's one there. T-base, a tree base. So let's try this again. But yeah, so again, I'm going to leave this one running. Any errors? Yeah, one failed. Oh, this, yeah, what blew up here? Oh, what did I explode? What did I explode doing this? That core minimal is my issue. Oh no, I know why. Burp. I left that in there. And we have... I bet that's it. I bet it's not actually thinking about it. Yeah, okay, what is it complaining about? And these are going to be some of the random errors you get. So the first error is in consumable base. Okay, I bet it's from the logging we added. Okay, so let's go to our function library. And I'm actually just going to remove the logging. I may have to do this in a little more roundabout way. And let's go to our logger, and I'm going to undo the changes I made here. So this is just going to be an enum. I'm going to get rid of the blueprint type and that, and get rid of all the metadata. And fix that. Error level, that should be there. Let's try that. I think the issue is actually all boiling down. I stop, build, stop. That's going to fail. Well, I'll let it run. It's going to fail because I still have that core minimal here. Or maybe not. Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of that core minimal. Let me save. Build this again. And these are the issues you're going to find as you come through. You're going to add things in, and things are going to break. And you're going to try to fix it. No. Okay, let's do a rebuild. Things are going to break because of a change you made. And in this case, it's a massive one. It's throwing errors about a ton of stuff. One of the perks I've got, haven't updated this for a couple episodes, is I do have source control in place. Where you can see I've got all the source control I need here, and it's covering all the changes I've been making. So I can see, okay, I made these changes. What did I screw up? I do highly recommend source control. I mentioned it at the start. I'm not going to cover setting it up, but it is something I do highly recommend you have. So what I'm going to do, though, because this is going to take some time, I am going to pause the video, and I will be back once this build process has completed, whether it's passed or failed. Okay, so that actually did not take as long as I thought it was going to. It completed in just over a minute, and the build succeeded with no other change. So now that that's done, that tells me I need to figure out a different method to this one here. So I'm going to think about that actually while we go through and we make sure this convert to Fahrenheit to Celsius is exposed to the editor like I hoped it was, or I hope it is. Pull that over. Editor's launching really quickly. Pull things over here. And you can see that function library is actually visible, unlike our data types that we have. So, but to test this out, we're going to go into our HUD. And we're going to go graph. Convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. So it is, even though, actually I don't think, did I set that up as a const? No, I didn't. So because I don't have const, and over here, const, should fix it. Because I didn't include that, it's actually an executable function, which is not what we want. We want it to be a execution-less function. So I'm going to, however, just for the sake of this particular test, I'm going to hook this up. And we're now going to get degrees Celsius, which, as I mentioned, you're going to want to add some way of changing your units here. So what? That makes no sense. Target is self. Okay, maybe I do need to do a live compile before I can test this. So I'm going to get rid of you. Reconnect everything here for the sake of sanity, just in case something else breaks. I don't want this to be left broken. And that's a bit of advice I would give everyone as well, is if you're doing something like this where you're working on a widget or a blueprint, you're working in a blueprint graph, and in this case a function isn't working the way intended, don't leave this broken. Put it back to how it was. Fix your code. Because if you leave this broken, you could come back and be like, oh, why is this not working? Completely forgetting that it was broken here. So let's try a live compile and see if that fixes it. So I really don't need that self reference, or the target reference, because there is no target. So, oh, bring that over instead of looking at it on the screen. So that's succeeded. Convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Why is it giving me a target? And that's going to complain again. Okay, I cannot remember what the answer is to that one. So, UE5 C++ function library needs target. There we go. So let me do, but when I call a function, then I get the error target myself connection, problem solved, I make static. That was it. Oh, why am I that stupid? Static float. Which means we can't use const. So we're going to go back to our function library. Let's try this one more time. I'm really not making myself look like a professional developer with all these mistakes. So, but again, fix this. One more recompile. And then as soon as this is working, because right now we're only looking at 20 minutes, we're going to fix that logging because I do want to expose that to blueprints. So let's try this again. Convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. Well, it's now got execution pins again because it's static, but let's try this. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way. We are getting math errors now. So, okay, we have a temp of 31 coming in, and we have a temp of 0 coming out. This could be because we're doing the live coding. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to not leave that like that. Maximize you, close you out. I'm going to close out of the editor quickly. And that could very well be because the live code updates. Sometimes it doesn't quite fix all of these. So what I'm going to do though is what we had before. Val equals return val, because I want to debug this. So I'm going to throw a breakpoint on there and save. Build. It should hopefully build pretty quickly. There we go. I'm going to launch that. And I've already realized how to fix the error logging. We create a new enum that's specifically for the editor. Because that's actually the other thing I realized. With this, that is RORR level. I think I've mentioned that before. But okay, so let's try this again. We're going to hit play. Should hit that breakpoint. Yep. So we're going to continue there. Now it'll hit the code. We had a temp of 40. Breakpoint's not in the right place, so continue. Add watchers. You're going to let me do that. Undefined. Continue. Okay, I'm just going to break that there. Move this out of the way. And it's still not working for some stupid reason. Okay. Temp of 30. Goes in as 30. It is coming out as 0. Why is that coming out as 0? So, well, ultimately I have covered how to create a function library. It's not working because the code inside is flawed. So what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to compile and save, close out of this. We're going to close out of the editor, and I'm going to, instead of having this fancy singular formula, I'm going to break it down to what it needs to be. So this is going to be temp val, single value, val minus equals 32. Float multi equals 5 divided by 9. I'm actually going to make sure these are defined as floats. 5.0 f 9.0 f val times multi. Now this is overkill. This is not what we need. This is just to try and see if we can catch this in our debugging. So I'm going to again do a rebuild. I don't normally do this, but it's because I'm seeing some weird errors. So I'm going to pause and I'll be back once this is done. Alright, so I have a real weird build error. Not weird, it makes sense, but it's one that's going to catch people off guard possibly. I missed putting a space for this multiplication. And I missed an equal. It was actually trying to use a pointer equals that. So, fix that. Now that that was a full rebuild, I'll just hit build and it should fix this hopefully. And ultimately, if this episode is a complete failure, I'm going to leave it in. because people need, as I've been covering in the temperature section, you're going to have bad days. If this fails, it's a bad day. Actually, while this loads up, function library has execute pin. How to create and output execute pin for C++. Is it possible to has more than one output execution pin? No. Okay, I don't. No, not going down that rabbit hole. So, I'm going to our graph. We still have our breakpoint there. I'm going to play. And you can play from your widget editor. It's the same as clicking play over here. So, okay, so we hit this breakpoint. Do we hit that breakpoint? Let's try. Continue. Okay, so val is being optimized away. 8.1. We were turning 4.5. Okay, does this work now? And drop that breakpoint, drop this breakpoint. We're going to hit continue. And we're going to move this out of the way. Now it's working. Okay, so I don't know if it was just the way I had formatted that funky logic. Again, as I had mentioned in the temperature actual logic portion of the last video, sometimes, I don't know, I pulled that up, I wanted the Visual Studio. Sometimes it's better just to simplify things. Yes, you could combine all of these into a single math function. It is technically more efficient. It is technically going to do everything you want it to do. Well, not technically. It should do everything you want it to do. But as you could see there, something in this commented out code just wasn't working. Again, probably just some weird error I introduced myself. So, anyways, I said once we got this working, I was going to provide the solution to this. So, what we are going to do, I'm going to stop playing in editor, and we are going to, I'm going to close out of the HUD, bring our content browser open, going to our C++, fall public, right click, new class, none, data type. We are going to select our data type folder, and this is going to be log level. We're going to create class. We're going to wait for this to prompt for a reload. We're going to reload all, and we're going to say yes to stopping debugging. And the reason for this is because we're going to do like we've done with our other data types. We are going to go to our header file. We are going to delete all of this, and we're just going to quickly look at our, save that, get rid of a lot of these extra ones that I use when I fix the logging. eCore stat. You can see here, I'm just going to copy this actually and put it over into our log level, and we're going to fix that in here. So log level. And I'm actually going to, where's our logger? I'm going to grab these. I'm going to pull these into here, and we're going to change these preface. Log level is LL now instead of error level. We're going to add that meta back in, so we have the user-friendly version of it. One too many spaces there. I'm going to copy that. Paste all these in. Nope, didn't need to do that one. Didn't have a comma at the end. We don't need a comma at the end. So let's go debug, warning, error, and critical. And this just gives us the, as I mentioned in the past, this is the UI friendly version of this to be displayed in the editor. I'm just going to quickly grab this include, and then we can close out of that. I'm going to go back to our function library. Save that. Now we're going to want a private function, and we're going to have it return an error level. Log level to error level. Const e log level. Reference level. And this is a private, not exposed to blueprints, because we're taking a blueprint variable and mapping it to a non-blueprint variable in this case. So we're going to go to, no, not go to, create the definition. And in here, we're going to go switch level, case log, e log level, debug, case e log level warning, case e log level error, case e log level critical, and as always I like to throw in a default. Return error level debug. I'm just gonna no, don't want to copy the whole thing between those two colons. Warning error. Get rid of that space. Now this one I'm going to use the fall through, and both of these are going to be returning error level critical. The reason being is if we haven't passed it in, there's some, or if this is weird, then we got other problems. So actually no, I'm going to logger get instance add message unknown nope unknown log level error level, and I'm just going to do this for consistency at this point, critical. So what we're saying here, actually I don't want that in critical, I want that in the default. So copy, cut that out down here in default. So if we get an unknown level, we're going to log an error saying we got an unknown one. Now I'm going to uncomment this. No, not delete, uncomment. And then we are going to do the same thing in our utility function. And we're going to see if this works. Oh, excuse me, and these need to be static. So instead of passing in level, we need to pass in log level to error level. And what are you complaining about? Oh, and that needs to be a static function as well. Derp. Static. What are you complaining about? Unable to find class delegate. Oh, yes. It's not error level. It is our e-log level. So, just to cover what I've done here, and I'm hoping this works, I'm still a little questionable about this one actually, so I'm going to go stud string con message convert message equals convert message. Oh, missed a semicolon. And I can't spell. Okay, I'll throw a breakpoint here. But so just to walk through what we've done is we have created a new data type for our log level. I want the header, not the source. We've mapped it to, well, given it our UI friendly names. We created a utility function that is not exposed to blueprints. That is going to convert our log level to our error level. And then from there, we created our utility function for adding the message. So let's try this one here. I got a feeling this isn't going to work. Yep, it's failed. What did it fail on here? Is it this? I'm pretty sure it's that, because that's the only thing that would make sense. No, that's still okay. What is it? Why are you complaining about things? Like what? Okay, I'm going to move you into here. And see, because we don't need the blueprint side knowing about logger. It's going to throw errors, but it's far few unknown override specifier on 18. Enum. Oh no, it's enum. Don't need that one. Believe that's the fix. Oh, sometimes I hate stumbling through the code. This should work a lot better, but I'm obviously making some weird mistake I'm not thinking of. Why? What is going on here? This is not making any sense. What have I included? Okay, just in case, I'm going to do a full rebuild again. So I'm actually going to guarantee a full rebuild. So build clean solution. There might be some partially generated code that's in the generated file that's causing some weird behavior. I'm going to now do a rebuild. And this again takes some time. So I'm going to pause and I will be back once this is done. All right, so yet again, I don't know what's with my system. It's hit or miss. The full rebuild took just over a minute. But as you can see, and this is what's really important, it succeeded. So that is something to bear in mind when you're working with C++ projects, is this particular include the generated header file. Sometimes it can be bad. With that, sorry, I was just reading this error. For declaration on this company must have an underlying type. Now that we know that it was actually that generated file, let's see if we can bring this back into the header for simplicity. But anyways, as I was saying, sometimes this generated file can get screwed up and it causes these build errors. So let's try this one more time. and we'll see if this fixes our issues. I didn't like that error message, even though it was a warning, just because it's okay. That worked. So anyways, let's launch into the editor. But going back to what I was saying, sometimes these generated files, I understand it's a requirement for the project. It's basically compiling your code into Unreal code, for lack of a better description. It's used for the blueprint and stuff like that. It can get screwed up. So every now and again, if you're running into these weird errors like I had there, which was telling me that it didn't have the color gray defined, do a clean and a full rebuild like I did there. A lot of the times that's going to fix your problems. So we are in our editor here. We're going to go back to our third person blueprints, our UI. Go in here. We already know this is working. What I'm going to do, what did I call that function again? Add log message? Yeah, add log message. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to see add log message. Make, oh, no, utilities, enum. Literal, that was it. Debug, and I'm just going to do this. The whole purpose, we're only doing this once. I'm going to remove this afterwards, just because I want to see how. Oh, I never. Okay, let's stop the editor. And again, I mentioned this in other episodes. You're going to be rushing when you're doing work. Slow yourself down. You're going to make more stupid mistakes rushing, and you're going to spend more time fixing them than you do if you just slow yourself down and be a little more trying to think of the word I want to use here, cognizant, or you're paying attention to the work you're doing. Because I wanted to debug this. Well, I can't debug it when I've got it commented out. So let's throw this back in, because we now figured out this wasn't the problem. Well, let's build. This should have zero impact on that, because this is all hidden code to the engine. That worked. Or sorry, not to the engine. Hidden code to blueprints. So, and the whole purpose for wanting to do that is I want to make sure this is actually giving us that right message, because I'm concerned that the conversion there that we pulled from that web page forum post isn't what we need. So let's just make sure I left that code or blueprint logic in there. Graph. It is there. Okay, so I'll move this out of the way. Out of the way, please. Okay, content browser there. There we go. Just being slow. So we're going to hit play. It's going to log a message almost instantly. So we have our message come in as 4.45 degrees C. The convert message is 4.45 funky A. But that works. Okay. Continue through there. I'm going to stop. I don't want multiple ones of these. And let me just pull up. I can never remember where that log path is. Okay, I'm just going to pause quickly. I know I covered this in the episode, and I've completely forgot. Alright, so I found the log file. And as you can see here, we do have that debug message that was created August 14th, 12:50. Yeah, it was about when I did this with all this messing around. And obviously that funky A we seen in there was just the encoding. So that is actually working. We are now able to pass error messages or log messages from a blueprint through to our custom logging. So with that, we have covered the basics of a blueprint function library, and we also covered a little bit of cross mapping an enum, an Unreal enum to a non-Unreal enum, and that's what this is. This is not an Unreal enum. It's a generic one. As you can see, it doesn't have UEnum. It's not enum class, derived from uint8. That's a requirement from Unreal Engine. We added that mapping function in here with some extra logging just to say, okay, we had a problem with that. We have a log conversion. We know this works. So I'm actually going to just take this and I'm going to throw it in here because we don't need that extra variable. Again, it's a tiny amount of memory usage, but it adds up. And if you can reduce your memory footprint early on with some commonplace ones, like we don't need to declare a new variable and then pass it in. This is going to do almost the exact same thing. The reason why I say almost is we're not using a constant. So, but either way, actually that should probably be a constant, but I'm not changing that now. We added in our utility function, and again, I have no idea why it wasn't working with that previous attempt, but I'm going to leave this for now, just simply because it's working. I will probably spend some time refactoring this at some point off camera, and I will, if I do that, I will come back and I will let you know exactly what I did. So, with that though, and I would say we also added in our Unreal enum for our, I'm going to fix this script because that's a duplicate name there, logging level. We fixed this here, created our Unreal enum, enum class, log level uint8, derived from a uint8, as I was mentioning. I copied that from our core study, and when I pulled it over, we have our logger. We haven't done any changes to. That was part of the thing there. We ran through that weird build issue we had, which ultimately turned out to be somewhere along the lines a generated file. I don't know if it was this one or if it was one of the other ones. It was just being really weird. Didn't want to work. So we've got that up and working. We've created our basic blueprint function library. Yes, I don't have any protected definitions. Function libraries, unless we're deriving from this one, we don't really need to do anything there. We're not going to need protected, but I've got that there just for the purpose of how I like to format things. I'll close out of that. We could also, from the randomization, actually, we could expand and pull create a blueprint function for this. We could create a blueprint function for any of these, actually. I'm not actually going to cover those, just because I personally don't need to use them right now. If at some point I do end up needing to, I'll expose them to blueprints through a function library, but I have no use for that right now. The random int from vector, possibly, but again, when I need that, I'll expose it. Let's see, is there anything else we did this episode? I'm pretty sure that covers everything. So, next episode, I do want to... I'm trying to think what I want to cover here. Let me look at my episode notes. Yes, I use Trello. No, you're not going to see my stuff there. And actually, no, I will, I'm going to correct myself there. I'm not going to say you're not going to see my notes. I'm going to just try and position this in a way to actually let me sort something out here. Turn that on. I'm just bringing in my blackout. Sorry, moving the whole recording thing around. Okay, let me move just you. Okay. There we go. Just because I want to hide some of my personal information that's up here. Am I going to hide it all? Yeah, I'm running free Trello. Maximize. Okay, we're good there. Sorry, there is certain things I want to keep to myself, like my Trello account name and things like that. So just to run through with how I've got my Trello right now. This is my ticketing system. You can use whatever you want. There's like Azure, whatever ticketing system. And I've got the project itself, and then I have a breakdown of my episodes. But so in here, I've got prioritize. So this is whenever I come up with an idea, or in the case of this project, I'm moving it over to, well, from my loosely game design document, or I'm moving it into, well, basically I want to get it so I can start working on it in this project. In here, I've got it broken down to prioritize, on hold. That's the inventory component I've mentioned. That is things I've realized I've hit a point where I need to stop working on it. I need to figure other things out, so it goes on hold. Notes, if there's anything critical. I'm a little behind on this. There is current task, which is actually temperature system. You can see some of the other things I want to incorporate in here. So building, crafting, injury system, what you'd expect. NPCs, a sleep quest system. Actually, I want to put that possible because you do get quests, they're jobs. Actually, no, I'm going to put that back in medium because that's getting assignments to go grab stuff from NPCs. A sleep system. Ailment, that is things like catching a cold, the flu, heat stroke. That's not what is, I need to enunciate this. Ailment, cold, flu, things like that, is not alignment, which is if you're good, you're evil, you're bad, like that. Trade system. So I just cover NPCs. That is things like other humans, animals, zombies, monsters, whatever you want it to be. An NPC, non-player character. Trade system. That is if we get. Actually, I'm going to put trade system above questing system. And these are sort of just a priority to work through. Like, so critical, I have no critical tasks. This will change as things go through. These are very rough headers. But I've got my building system. That is something I want to work on. That is obviously building structures. Crafting system. That is making equipment. Injury system. That is obviously, now, these two are, injury system and ailment is different, or are different. Injury is things like broken bones, cuts. Ailment is things like food poisoning, or hypothermia, or hypothermia, things like that. But this is the sort of a rough breakdown of how I plan to work through everything. I've got building, crafting, and injury system. That's sort of higher up there. Trade system, NPCs. Actually, no, I'm going to put trade system low. And this is to say they're not working, or they're not going to be worked on. This is just the order I want to work on them. So I start from my critical, which I've got nothing. Then I look at my high, then my medium, then my low. And once all of this is done, possible. But yeah, so yeah, building system, crafting system, injury system, then NPCs, a sleep system, so that's passage of time, ailment system, and then a trade and quest system. These are similar. It's going to be human character interaction. A weather system. I'm actually going to bump that up. It's a little more higher priority, because that's going to be things like it's snowing, it's raining, there's a heat wave, there's a cold front, there's I don't know if I'm going to go to this extent, but things like tornadoes and thunderstorms, but that sort of thing. Like, and when I say to that extent, I mean tornadoes, just because that's going to be a little complicated to try and figure out how to do that with world destruction and things like that you would expect from a tornado. But anyway, so yeah, quest system, modding support, that is something I want to try and account for. And then as you can see, as a possible is a random world generation. That is something that would be well after the fact, just because creating height maps and roads and all of that, that's very complex. That's going to be something that would be like in a release 2.0 if I ever made the game public, like started to sell it. So, and then just a quick thing, a note of the stuff I've done. Statline component, day-night cycle, the calendar system is done. I say the inventory component is on hold while I'm working on that, and there's still more to do with the temperature system. So, and this is just my own personal way. This is a very high-level breakdown of the components. Let's expand temperature system. I don't have any notes. Do I have any that have notes? Or are these all just... Did I really just create these and never do anything with them? Apparently not. As I transition things into... Well, from my game design doc into here, I'm going to start adding notes as well for myself so I have an idea. But this is something... I'm just going to move this out of the way now. Having a system like... Get rid of that black marker. Trello, or another form of ticketing system. And I'm going to use ticketing system here as the descriptor, not a bug ticket, because bug tickets aren't always the right term. It's a ticketing system because, or a task system, it gives you things to focus on, and it helps not deal with the squirrel effect of, oh, cool, there's something else here. I covered that in the first intermission. But anyways, folks, this is actually turning into quite a long episode. I was expecting this to be about half hour, but we ran into some issues and got those fixed, and then I went over Trello and ticketing. Anyways, the whole purpose of pulling up Trello actually was to see what was going to be next episode. That's done. Inventory mockup is done. Temperature system. Temperature system is done. I'm sitting here making you guys listen to me looking over my tickets or my potentials. Honestly, I'm not sure what the next episode's going to be. I'm going to have to spend some time thinking. Actually, I think this might be a point where I start not releasing a episode for the series every single day after this episode, because yeah, it's starting to get to that point where I need to spend more time. So this is a bit of an announcement, well, informal announcement on that then. So episodes for this particular series, the actual full C++ survival game project, they're going to slow down a bit. They're going to be between 2 and 3 episodes a week, just depending. I might even go down to 1 episode a week at points. Episodes are going to slow down. But as I've been mentioning in the last few episodes, I'm going to be trying to just do some like one-off tutorial episodes in between. And trying to use my normal format of, okay, well, does this work? Does that work? This is how you want to do it. This is why you want to do it. My whole stumble through. So, as of right now, I don't have any suggestions. I do have some notes and possible ideas from myself. But yeah, so after this episode, things are going to start slowing down a little bit, just because I do need to spend a little more time. Like for the temperature, I need to figure out how I want to do things like thermal insulation, stuff like that. So anyways, I have taken this and really dragged it out to an hour-long episode. So as always, folks, any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Again, if you have any ideas or suggestions for short one-off, maybe 2-episode tutorials, leave them in the comments. I will see if it's something I'm comfortable doing as a tutorial. And if so, I'll slot those into the tutorials. Like the one-off tutorials I'm going to be putting out in the next little while. And like I said, the primary series, the frequency of videos is going to start going down just simply because I need to spend more time between episodes. You probably noticed even last episode with the temperature system, or the last 2 episodes, I was a little scatterbrained because I didn't put as much planning into that as I wanted. So, with that though, folks, thank you again. And as always, I will see you in the next episode.